Minutes for folks to join on in. Probably gonna be starting to get a couple people closer to around 7 o'clock. Then we'll just give it a couple more minutes. After that, we'll just go ahead and start.
Which is almost, I mean, it ain't exactly like our famous original, but it's almost like the day they did fast that everybody came out here and very cool. I should get that because we only see me. I should have got. Two of me. The green room, we're not ready to shut the phone. No. And you start to look like you're going to go. And a good way down before you got it. Next time. Why did you do it? Not really do. Dove shoes and all up, and then they're still in, I mean, if you still got it. That's you. No, what happens on after the last highlighter and stuff, all of that's gone. It's the highlighter. Now this side is get green. Now this right here. Maybe that from her white street. Had that for you. That wasn't you. I see every end. I was able to talk about thing. She told me to say, oh. Well, I know that. I was there. This is how I saw she asked me. Yeah. Well, he's back. I was little and junior year, and I used to sing it. Nice. Thing that is. I can't sing it with you. I'm singing more. Except when they give me that. Got me that more bags. Yeah. Now you got it. Y'all fast person. You're too young. And you're not hard. Yeah. And you have to be a prayer. Addison. That's the leader. Right. What is next?
Hey, I just want to let you know that I'm trying to figure out right now if I can post this live stream to the event page on Facebook to just get it out to more people, and it looks like it's possible. So just to get that out to y'all. Let's see.
That's what she asked me, but in her birthday. Did she cut her hair?
Two.
Cut her hair. Cut her hair, Nick. Done. Obviously, it's been done for a while. Jesse didn't do, but she been keeping it up, so I wouldn't know. Because I wouldn't let it go. It would be regretted. She went and put it all on her shoulder. Now she look like she got a big box square head. You should have seen this Sunday. She had it out Sunday. I mean, get it shaped up or something. Look like a big square pants. And just look for her and then put one big. Until
Okay, I think we can go ahead and get started, y'all.
All right.
All right, let's get into it. So I'll just start by saying good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us this Friday for the first Meet the Artist event, part of our Quarantunes digital performance series highlighting and celebrating the diverse traditions of South Carolina. My name is Ian Halligan, Folklife Program Coordinator for the McKissick Museum at the University of South Carolina. During Meet the Artist, we will be sitting down with performers in our Quarantunes series to learn more about the art forms represented, as well as the performers themselves. Audience members are welcome and encouraged to submit questions by typing into the chat box at any time throughout this talk. I will relate these questions to the artists at the end of the discussion. Before we begin, I would like to thank the South Carolina Arts Commission for their support of this evening's event. Meet the Artists and Quarantunes would not have been possible without the Folklife Partnership Grant, which the Arts Commission provides McKissick Museum to amplify their traditional arts program. With that said, I am joined tonight by Brian Coleman, Sabrina Creel, and Michael McElvaney, all members of the Tribal Council for the Edisto Natchez-Kusso, a Native American tribe based primarily in Dorchester and Colleton counties. During this discussion, we will learn more about the history and culture of the tribe itself, as well as the significant role the drum plays for the Edisto Natchez-Kusso. Again, please feel free to ask questions at any time. I will relate these questions at the conclusion of the discussion. Brian, Sabrina, Michael, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Good afternoon.
Good evening. My name is Brian Coleman. I serve on the Natchez-Kusso Tribal Council. I'm also a member of the Edisto River Singers Drum Group.
And I am Michael McElvaney, also a tribal council member, also a member of.
I'm Sabrina Creel, and I am a board member as well. But I don't serve on the drum group because I'm a girl. You know. So a little bit of background about our tribe is that the Kusso tribe has always been here in the Low Country, more towards the along the Ashepoo River and the Spoons Plantation out towards Charleston. The Nochi part of our tribe actually comes from Mississippi. Back in the 1700s, there was the French War, and a small band of them actually came from the Mississippi area over up into North Carolina, and then they ended up even becoming smaller and then coming on down to Charleston, and they just stayed around, some of them with us, and that's how you get the whole Natchez and the Kusso part together. But from about the 1700s, about 1732, from then onto the current day, present day, we have always been here. We are what they call it's really a Creek kind of tribe. We've lived along the Edisto River after the government or the state of South Carolina granted us land as they pushed us on down towards this area. And so we've been here in Ridgeville and Dorchester and Colleton County since about 1800. So from about 1800 to now, the core of our tribe is still right here, even though some of our members are out of state and out in Berkeley and Charleston County still for today. We still hold a lot of our traditions. We're a nonprofit organization. We run completely off of donations and grants and things like that. We keep our traditions alive as much as we can today with teaching our young people. We teach them about the drum, we teach them about the regalia, we teach them about our traditions, everything that we can, basket making, the boat oars. We are also looking into getting a basket maker here and more pottery. So we pretty much just trying to keep it together and keep it alive through the pandemic and all these things of that. One of the things that I think is unique about our tribe is that once here in our tribe, we had the last Native American school. It was closed down here in the 1960s. The building is no longer here, but we had that, and this tribe had that. And then in the 1960s, they marched for Native Americans to be able to go to school, even though segregation was already for all the other blacks and whites and everybody else could go to school. Native Americans still could not. So our parents, or my grandparents, they marched with the Black Panthers, Victoria Lee, in the middle of town up there in Ridgeville, so that we could go to school. And they actually won, so we got to go to school with everybody else. We always laugh and run and tell everybody that, you know, we don't look like what Hollywood makes us look like. We look like everyday people. We shop and go to Walmart, the mall, just like everybody else today. But we still hold our traditions dear to heart. We still have our powwows and things like that. And we still like to go out and tell everybody else and share our culture with everybody else still today too.
Great, thank you so much. I was very curious to learn more about this Native American school. You know, when was this school first established, and, you know, what was kind of its role in the tribe, either positive or negative?
From what I read, I don't know the year that it was established, because it's probably it's been here forever. Well, was here forever up until the 1960s, as long as we can remember anybody here. It only went up to the 6th grade, and it was like each row of children was like a different grade, like 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade. It was ran by the state, so to speak. They sent retired teachers out here to teach the Native American children, which would have been my mom and, you know, everybody my mom's age and up, really. When desegregation came about or whatnot, Native Americans weren't classified in that. We were still out here on our own. So when I think blacks and whites were going to school for about maybe 10 years before Native Americans actually got to go to school. There was actually 2 schools. There was one here in the original area, and there was one here in the Cottageville area as well, that served both sides of the community. But the one here in Ridgeville, there's actually the Post-Courier, there's actually a write-up about it, and it's a picture of it where before they tore it down, when it was being torn down in the 1960s, because we actually got to fight and go to school with everybody else.
Okay. And, you know, as far as the school goes, was it a place that kind of tried to suppress, you know, Native traditions or Native language? Was it a school like that, or was it something completely different?
No, it was educational, but there was some abuse from the teachers, so to speak, to the one particular teacher my mom can remember, like little girls to sit on his lap.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it was, yeah.
Yeah, it's like that. Did this school also have kind of an impact on, you know, continuing traditions as well? Was it something that was, you know, tried to be prevented or cut out of, or was that even incorporated into the classroom?
No, I think it was actually just really basically trying to get Native Americans educated enough to be functioning in society with the change of times at the time. Most Native Americans before that time could not read or write anyway. So when school did come around, the great-grandparents, of course, you know, because I got to think of a generation, the great-grandparents wanted my grandparents to go to school and my mom and them to go to school because they never had the opportunity. So to them, it was more or less a good thing, and they tried to send their children, you know, to be educated.
Okay, I gotcha. Well, great. You know, kind of on the same topic of tradition as well, another part that we're going to be kind of talking about today is the role of the drum. Brian and Michael, I'd love to hear more about the powwow drum and just generally about the role that the drum plays in the tribe's culture.
Sure. She mentioned powwows just a minute ago, and a powwow is more like a Native American festival where we get together and we show our culture off, and we share our culture with each other and with surrounding areas, the community, so to speak, those that don't know about Native Americans. So you'll see Native Americans in regalia, you'll see dancers, you'll see flute players, you'll see Native American crafts being sold. You'll see Native American food being sold. You're just showing our culture to everybody. But at a powwow, there's a powwow drum, which serves as like the heartbeat of the whole ceremony. So the dancers, they dance to the heartbeat. They dance, everything revolves around the powwow drum. This drum is made out of buffalo hide. Some drums are made out of cow hide. Some drums are made out of all different sorts of hide. And it makes a different sound, you know, depending on the hide, how tight it is, and whatnot. This drum is it's a sacred drum. So when you sit around this drum, you don't act a certain type of way. You can't curse around the drum. We can't eat around the drum. There's certain traditions we follow when we're around this drum. In our tribe, we don't allow women to sit around the drum. we don't allow that. That's just not a tradition of ours.
We'll let Sabrina expound a little bit more why.
Yeah.
We don't allow women. Women can't actually sit to the drum and beat on it. They can stand behind the men and sing along with us, and actually sit at the drum and beat on the drum. Now, women can play hand drums. That's totally different, but not a powwow ceremony. Now let Sabrina talk about it.
Traditionally, the reason that men sit around the drum is because we call this like the heartbeat of the tribe, of everything. Men cannot have children. So me being me as a female in this century, so I had to find out why I couldn't play the drum, you know, and keep it that way. When I learned, I respected a lot more. You're not gonna get the guys all the time about it, but men can't have kids, so the actual beating of the drum by the men is actually a respect thing towards women, because women are the only ones that can actually carry a child and have two heartbeats in one body at a time. So this is the closest that men can get to having that. So that's why women can't play the drum or, you know, beat the drum in ceremonies and such forth. So that's as close as they can get to having two heartbeats at a time. So I respect it now. I respect them. I respect it. I just, you know, in our culture today, you know, women, you know, we've come leaps and bounds. So I just pick at the guys about it, but I do respect it.
That's great. This idea of having two heartbeats with drumming, and you know, Brian, you also said something too, that it's something. Powwow drumming is not just the drum itself, but it's very interconnected with everything else in life, right? You know, dance, just everything representative of the culture. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Yeah, I'd love to hear more about that. You know, just this kind of interconnectedness.
So growing up, I always used to go to powwows, sit around or stand around the drum. Told myself I would always want to become a drummer. I got involved in 2014, I believe, and just practice, learning more, traveling to different powwows, just really getting the experience of being around this drum. And it's very I don't know what's the word to say. Help me out, Mike. It's I don't know, it's an experience. I can't explain it. It's just
It's a sense of pride.
yeah, it's the pride feeling, what you're doing. A lot of people mistake, or Hollywood, I would say, gives the drum beat of that is not a Native American powwow beat. That is Hollywood. That is not how the beat goes at all. This is a normal beat. And then there's a heartbeat, which is like a two-step beat. So it's not the, that's Hollywood. The dancers will be wearing regalia. It's not a costume. or an outfit. It's called regalia, which would, they said every dancer has their own story for their type of regalia that they have. Michael is a grass dancer, so he'll explain more of that next Friday when he's dancing, of what regalia is and the way he moves and why he's moving the way he is. His daughter and my daughter are junior dress dancers, and her daughter as well as a junior dress dancer. Her other daughter is a fancy shawl dancer, and they will be with us next Friday. They will be dancing and explaining everything that goes on with their regalia, why they move the way they move, and how it flows with the beat of the drum.
And with the drum itself too, it seems like this is something that y'all grew up with from a very early age. Is that correct? That was something always in your life?
Michael is actually one of the founding fathers of Edisto River singers, so I'll let him talk about it.
Most definitely. I've been doing it since probably her age. My daughter, 3 years old. We used to go to powwows almost every weekend. Try to learn more and more about our culture. We wasn't brought up in our culture. We had someone that come and actually introduced us to all this. That's when we really started getting into it a lot more, wanting to know more about it. Now, well, not now because of the pandemic, but we've been all up and down the East Coast, out to Oklahoma, Michigan, powwows all over the place. There's a different powwow every weekend of the year. Of course, when we don't have a pandemic. And like Ron said, like the drum is circle because circle of life, of course. At a powwow, like he said, the drum is very sacred. We have a prayer and we bless the drum before the powwow. Once that's done, like he said, you can't smoke around this drum, no profanity, no drinking, no eating. Drum has to be covered at all times. If we actually get up from our drum and doesn't have it covered, nobody's around the drum, an elder can actually come and take our drums because they see that as a sign of disrespect. So the drum is very sacred, very sacred.
Wow. So, you also said too that the drum was kind of introduced at some time ago, or do you know when the drum was first introduced, or the powwow drum was first introduced?
I think our people kind of lost that connection to.
Our people kind of adapt. For survival purposes, our tribe. I'm pretty sure that y'all heard of the first five, which is known as the first five civilized tribes of when the settlers came. Our tribe was one of those tribes, so we adapted and kind of went with the settlers for survival. So we lost a lot of our language, we lost a lot of tradition, we lost a lot of things. We knew what we were, but we really, our grandparents, they knew what we were, but for survival, it was, you didn't act out, you didn't act that way, or you didn't say this, or you didn't do that because they'll get you, you know what I'm saying? So for many years, it was lost, we say lost to adoption because you had to survive. So after that, that's when we got tucked out here into these counties, which it was all Colton County one time until they rezoned in like 1897. We were all just tucked out here and kind of stayed to ourselves and didn't let nobody know that, we were here. We've been here all of my life, all my mom's life, my grandparents' life, their life, but even the surrounding schools here don't really know until now that we kind of come out of our shells, I guess you'd like to say, and say, oh, well, I've been going to school with Michael all his life. I didn't know he was Indian. It's kind of like now they're, oh, it's an Indian community out there, So that's kind of where they're at, and it kind of shocked me to know So for the last, last 3 years, we've been doing more educational things. We go to museums, we go to schools, we go to the Boy Scouts of America, just anywhere that we can educate the world that, we are here. We lost some things, but over time, our grandparents and great-grandparents seized the moment to restore our traditions back. And from then on, we've gotten what we could salvage, and we took them, and now we're teaching them back to our children, and and so forth. So I mean, besides having to adapt to be able to survive, and then when the new settlers and stuff came, we're actually doing it in strides as well. I mean, in all honesty.
Yeah, and I can't help but mention that you kind of talked about this big role of educating not only people within the tribe, but people outside of the tribe. And especially for people outside of the tribe, whenever you go to give talks or discuss, what are some common reactions either to, the powwow drum, or just talking about the history and culture of the tribe? How do people usually react?
Well, honestly, we become the cool people. We're the cool people now. Like, you got the oohs and the ahs. Unfortunately, sometimes, we get the, rudeness, but I mean, that comes with everything that you do. But most of the time people, and then they want to know more, and, then we get a lot of more support. It causes them to want to come out to our powwows and really get a hands-on. It builds relationships with people. And then it just, it really educates people. This one of the museums, more people, it just opens up more avenues and more doors to go further and further. And us, this little team here, I mean, we'll jump right on it. We don't require money. If, that's not a requirement, because that's not the, goal. I mean, if they do give us a donation or whatever, we're grateful and thankful, but our point is so that his daughter and my grandkids and my, that the world will know, hey, that little Indian community over there has been there forever, and they're not scared anymore. They're not tucked away. We don't live in that era. Because a lot of our elders don't come to Charleston. They don't leave off this property. They don't. It's just something they don't do. They don't have internet out here hardly. I mean, sometimes in some areas it's like you pump them to sunlight. So I mean, it's just so remote, and they've been here so long, they just don't want to venture out. But then you got the younger generation that was educated, and we're in the 21st century. So, we want to educate people, because now we think it's at a time that everybody knows everybody. So, and the oldest thing we hate is, oh, I thought Indians were extinct. That's the stupidest thing I've heard, but we get that all the time. I heard it before, you get it. And I'm like, well, I'm pretty extinct, but I'm still here, nice to meet you, type of thing. And so we just love the opportunity to go and show them, and then they'll say, well, where you at? And it just, people will come back, and they'll come here, they'll visit, and then they take it and tell somebody else. So it's really getting the word out there. And then it's also cutting away all the stereotypes of what Hollywood has set out for people to think of what Native Americans are. Because when you go someplace, they find out that, you get the old Hollywood, type of thing, or do the rain dance chorus, or, and it kind of, afterwards, it kind of changes people's mindsets, and they're like, oh man, that's really cool. So, it kind of just changes, and that's a good thing to see. Everybody's more accepted, and, with it, so it's been pretty good.
As far as the kids love the drum. They love to see Michael dance. They love to see dancing and the drum. It's so loud, and they're just in awe. I think it's something they don't ever forget. So when they get older, they'll remember, oh yeah, I remember them. They live in Richmond. They got a powwow coming up. And we go to the powwow. I think it's great for the community. We always wanted to have what we call the school days, which is like the Friday before powwow. We'll get schools to come out, kind of like a field trip for the schools. We'll go like a little powwow cultural session. Let them see the drum and teach them some of our ways and stuff. Maybe make a craft, a small craft, and just something that they can take with them.
Yeah, our brigades aren't made in China.
Yeah. handmade.
Everything has to be authentic to enter into the sacred circle. That means you gotta make it.
So with it being handmade, is this something that it is taught to like a select number of people? Is it something that is like passed down generation to generation, or?
If you would like to learn, yeah, it's really up to you. I make regalia. I can bead. I can do that. Michael can do that. Both of my daughter's regalias, I made every stitch of it. Some other ones around the community, his daughters, I made. It's just, I guess, it's just like everything else with society. It's getting our young people, when you got video games and this, that's just not always the cool thing to do. So it's just getting the young people involved so they don't forget where they come from as well. Some things, with Native Americans, some things are still gender-based, I guess you would like to say. Like making the boat oars, that's mostly the guys, even though I'm going to make one. Because it's not, you know what I'm saying? I wanted just for the trade, so it's something that you don't forget over time. We do our own regalia making. Even the drumsticks are made by hand. I mean, just everything is made authentic, and it's because, and if you really think about it, if you sit your time to make it, you appreciate it a whole lot more.
Yeah.
So. And when you go into a circle as a powwow, the sacred circles and things, it's to be authentic, nothing store bought, I mean, some things within reason because of laws. I mean, we're not going out killing animals and birds, but there are some craft supplies for Native American things that you order it from, like the bones and things like that. Like the choker that I got on tonight is straight buffalo bone and glass, 20 beads. Glass bone spacers, the leather I made, well, actually Christy made this one. A girl of mine made this one with us at craft night. We hold craft class right now. It's on pause because of the pandemic, and then our activity building is actually needs some repairs and things, so it's not inhabitable now. But we're holding, like, for the young ones or any other Native American groups, actually. On Thursday nights, we were holding language classes to learn the Nochi language. And then on the other Thursday night, we skip a night Thursday, and we were doing craft classes and powwow dance if the young ones want to learn. So me and the old chief and my daughters were teaching dance, and if we started teaching them to bead and dream catchers and things like that. So that's how we kind of been keeping it alive and keeping the youth involved, is we have these classes and teach them. And right now it was opened up to all Native Americans. Like, you didn't have to be from our tribe, you could just be Native American, period. And then you could come out to the classes and learn, or maybe you wanted to make something that you didn't know how to make, or and we had somebody here that we would do that.
Great. And as far as, and we'll get kind of close to wrapping up here, for, with COVID and everything going on, and as you alluded to, just having, multiple limitations be put in place, and just kind of everything being up in the air at this point, especially with COVID going on, what keeps y'all going with continuing these traditions and continuing this work? Like, what gets you most excited? That's just, what is the most exciting part about all this, either doing education or just practicing itself?
For me, I got a daughter and I want her to be a part of it. So I'm driving and doing what I'm doing to help her. And also for the tribe, currently we're seeking federal recognition, which is a big deal for a tribe. It's a big opportunity to make our tribe very well known and help our community a lot more than what we are now. So the heart of the community is what does it for me. I want to help my people. That's what keeps me going. And I know that we lost it at one point. I don't want to.
First, I'd have to say perseverance, so that regardless if we can be dead and gone,
Right.
this community and our people will still be here. We've got to push and keep it, or else it's gonna die out.
Yep.
And I don't mean like our heritage, our us Indians period, just if we don't keep it and keep going and teaching, there's some little girl or some little native boy up there that wants to do it, and if we don't reach and grab them, then when we're gone, it's just gonna stop. And that's gonna be a loss of our treasure. And I mean, I'm prideful with it, I love it. When I hear this drum, I can't beat it. It's something that happens to your feet. When you hear this drum and you see all of them out there in that arena together, it's unity, it's family, and that's what's gonna help and keep this community, Like Brian said, we're trying to get federal recognized. We're doing things. We got our own free Indian health clinic. We are doing, and like I said, we're doing it leaps and bounds. We're moving forward so that this little community can still be here for my kids, their children, and on and on. We're still here. We ain't going nowhere. Hopefully, we're gonna just keep on being here.
Wonderful. Well, I think that's a great thing to end on. So I just wanted to say thank you again to everyone that joined us this evening. I'd like to thank Brian Coleman, Sabrina Creel, and Michael McElvaney, if I got the last name right, for sharing their art and culture with us tonight. You all can tune in next Friday at 7 p.m. on Facebook to see the tribe perform as part of our Quarantunes music series. Thank you again to the South Carolina Arts Commission for their support of Meet the Artists in Quarantunes. And to everyone tuning in, thank you so much. And y'all have a great night. Thank you so much.
You.
Thank you.